we're going to be ranking every troop in Squad Busters from worst to best. And today it's going to be the Squad League edition. So starting off with the worst troop in Squad League, it's going to be Heavy in Use and I'll Actually Cry. Now for this tier list, we have 5 tiers. We have Use and I'll Actually Cry. This is like, don't even put it in your rotation. Please do not do that. We have It's Meh to Use. You can add it in your rotation. I personally wouldn't. For Decent Choice, this is like a filler unit. Once you've picked all your good units for your rotation, you then fill up with some of these choices. For Consider Using, these are troops where you have to consider using at least most of these. And then for Must Use, it's like, well, don't even think about it. Add it into your Squad League rotation, otherwise you have a problem. So the next troop going in Use and I'll Actually Cry is going to be Dr. T. Now, I know I've said recently that Dr. T is a little bit better, but that's in Showdown, not in Squad League. And by the way, the same thing applies to Royale King. So Royale King and Dr. T, both in the same area. Now, to be honest with you, these troops just need big buffs. I mean, even in Showdown, they're decent, but they're not anything special. I still think they need like a big buff. I'm thinking Royale King, those recruits should follow you around. And for Dr. T's Mega Crab, I think that crab should just be a lot more powerful. We also have the Witch in Use and I'll Actually Cry. Now, again, I've said this plenty of times, but if the Witch just wasn't an epic, she might be decent. I think if she was a rare, she would be decent. And if she was a common, she'd probably be quite good, I would say. But there's no point giving a Witch a slot in your ranked rotation when there are 5 better epics easily. I mean, in the first 2 tiers, I think I have 5 epics alone, so no Witch. And then the last troop in Use and I'll Actually Cry is going to be the Medic. Worst healer in the game, easily, not even close. Pam is much better and Poco, best healer in the entire game. Do not use a Medic. The only reason you would use a Medic is for passive healing, but with a Poco, you can just kill a couple skeletons and get that same passive healing. So, and in fact, you actually get more of it. And also, Poco is an aggressive healer. So is Pam. Don't use Medic, please. Anyways, we're now moving into It's Meh to Use. I wouldn't suggest using these, but if you want to use them, so be it. And we're going to start off with Bo. Now, Bo is barely in It's Meh to Use and not in Use or I'll Actually Cry because he actually received a pretty good buff in this recent update. Does a lot more damage against monsters. The mines do more damage, has a lot more health, but you can choose your own rotation. So choose a Barbarian, a Shelly, and just start off with those 2 units. Don't pick a Bo. It's barely in this tier. Next up, we have Frank as well, just above Bo. Received a pretty decent buff in the recent update, although in Showdown, Frank is actually pretty good. In Gem Hunt, not really, because you're not really in this small little area in the final minute of a game. You're kind of running around, chasing people down a lot. So definitely better than it used to be. Not as good though as in Showdown. And I know I ranked Frank quite badly in my last Showdown tier list, but if I were to redo that today, I would rank him a lot higher. We also have Nita in It's Meh to Use. The only good thing about Nita is that Red Bear can sometimes be a pain to take out, and you might accidentally target that instead of a troop in their squad. But besides that, I don't know, just doesn't give me enough. We also have the Bandit in It's Meh to Use, which is crazy because not too long ago, I would have put Bandit at the very top, or maybe in the second to top tier. But ever since they made it so you get a bunch of gems from busting people's squads, the Bandit, and more specifically the Trader as well, have just become very useless. Just run a DPS squad and it's a lot safer. I'm telling you right now, if I ever see someone with a Bandit, a Bow, Trader, Mavis, and Greg in my game, they are getting absolutely slapped up and there's nothing that you can do about it. I'm just running full DPS. I picked the OP troops. We also have the Wizard. Holding 2 slots is always nice. I would say slightly better in Showdown than well ranked. And then the final unit is El Primo. Not a terrible unit, but because you can choose your own squad, I wouldn't choose to have it as one of my commons. But if you want to choose it as one of your commons, it is at the top of It's Meh to Use, so not terrible. Anyways, moving into Decent Choice, we're going to start off with Elita. So now these troops are like, you should use some of these as filler troops, but we'll get to that. So Elita 1 makes it so your turbo lasts longer, does a lot of damage while you're holding down the turbo, and it's just a really good tanky unit, so always something good to have in your squad, along with Optimus Prime as well. Very tanky unit. In fact, Optimus Prime is quite a good healer because when you take damage, you get healed. It's especially good in Showdown, very good in Showdown, but this is ranked. I'm going to stop talking about Showdown. We also have Mortis, pretty decent choice. He's a good filler if you have a spot free, same with Optimus Prime and Elita. Now the thing is, he's only really good in the spooky world. The lava map, he's fine. The other maps, no, not really. I would pick some different epics. So he's a bit of a risky unit. Next up, we have Pam, which is our other healer. If you want to use a Pam, not a bad choice. Although I will say you shouldn't be using Pam and then Poco as another healer. And I think Poco is much better than a Pam. That Pam is sort of useless. But if you hate Poco and you want another healer, that healer is going to be Pam. We also have the Archer as well in decent choice. In fact, the Archer is pretty good at wiping out squads very quickly with her arrow rain ability. Although it comes back to the fact that I can think of 5 commons better than her, and you can only pick 5 commons for your rotation. She's a good filler. If you like the Archer and you've got a slots free for your commons, you can pick her. We have Colt as well in a decent choice. If you have a high level Colt, not a bad choice. He's good for his piercing ability, does a lot of damage. He's very good in loot goblin rush as well, actually. And I guess he received a couple buffs in this recent update, so not too bad. Next up, we have Mavis. Now, I will say Mavis is really decent. Well, decent good at ultra form, but at super form and below, I don't know about you guys, but for me on Broke Claz, my free-to-play account, which to be honest is the account I've been spending all my time on for the last 2 weeks, Mavis just isn't good. She doesn't drop much loot. At ultra form, she drops a lot more. At super, not really. So what I will say, if you don't have her at ultra form, I would go with Greg. And that's why I'm putting Greg just above Mavis. Is the opposite of Mavis. Better at super form, worse at ultra form, although very good at ultimate form. Anyways, the final 3 troops in decent choice are going to be my doppelganger troops. Now, I'll explain what I mean, but we're going to start off with the Goblin. The Goblin, not an amazing troop to use in most of your games. In fact, I would probably take a Greg or a Mavis over a Goblin. Although, if you have him at Ultra or Ultimate, he's actually pretty decent just to use if, well, you need someone to pick. But in doppelgangers especially, it is so worth it to have Goblin only for doppelgangers. Just because if you get doppelgangers, you know you're about to build the biggest squad in your lobby if people aren't also having a Goblin. The same goes for Chicken as well. If you're ever playing doppelgangers, Hog Rider, very useless. And in fact, Chicken, very useless in every mode except doppelgangers, because in every other mode, you're just going to pick a Hog Rider instead of a Chicken. So literally Goblin and Chicken are only here for doppelgangers. And then finally, we have Trader. Definitely not in S tier like he used to be, but he hasn't gone down as much as I thought he would. He's like a decent-ish choice now. He's a little bit risky, although you still do get that healing from him. So you could just pick one Trader just for the healing, and then I guess the extra gems as well. Although if you're in a lobby with good players, they will punish you for running a Trader. But again, the reason I have Trader in my Squad Busters rotation is just for doppelgangers. All right, the first troop at the bottom of consider using is going to be a Penny. Now, Penny actually does quite a lot of damage. In fact, she deals 245, which is actually a pretty decent starting unit, and I guess you get the treasure map as well. Although with the recent update change to where you now get a lot more gems for busting someone's troops, Penny isn't as good. I have her on my free-to-play account in my rotation, and on my pay-to-win account, I have Tank in my rotation. Next up, we have Shelly. She's a good unit to consider in your squad. Damage, she stuns, she has decent health. She's just an all-around good unit. Similar situation with Jessie, bounces between 2 units, her shot, which is pretty good. Also, those turrets are very annoying for people to mess with. I don't have Jessie in my rotation for Squad League, but she's not bad. And next up, we have our first good epic, and there's only 5 epics left in this tier list, and all 5 of these epics left in the tier list are epics I have in my rotation. Battle Healer makes it so you have 600 extra health for every unit in your squad. Every unit gets 600 extra HP. Now, if you get 2 Battle Healers in your squad, you get 1,200 extra HP. If you actually fuse up a Battle Healer, that 3rd Battle Healer only gives you 400 extra HP. So 600 plus 400 comes to 1,600. Pretty good unit. I don't use her in all my games, so I would say she's the one troop where if you don't like a Battle Healer, you can swap her out for maybe an Optimus Prime, an Elite 1, or a Mortis. Next up, we have Dynamite, a very good splash damage unit. And honestly, if I didn't love B as much as I love B, which we'll get to in a minute, Dynamite would be the unit I would have in my rotation. And talking about B, we have B here in consider using. Interestingly enough, B has become, I think, one of my top favorite units in the entire game recently. Although, to be fair, I have her at Ultra Form on both my main account and free-to-play account. If you don't have her at Ultra Form, I think she's still good. I just don't think she's as good. Next up, we have Barbarian. Definitely, I think you should have him in your rotation. Even if you don't have him at Ultimate Form, I have him at Ultimate Form on my main account. Amazing. Even on my free-to-play account, he's my go-to starter. I literally use him in all my free-to-play videos. And then the next troop is going to be Tank, a very good unit. I actually have Tank on my main account, but not my free-to-play account. On my free-to-play account, I use a Penny instead of of a tank, although I do have a tank unlocked. Very good, especially with the Archer Queen, which is also going in consider using. And this is the next epic I have in my squad league rotation. The Archer Queen is really good, makes it so all your long range units attack faster. We've been over this, blah, 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 blah. Although you probably noticed, I haven't put her at the very top. Now, I do have her in my rotation for my free-to-play and pay-to-win account. Although if you don't like running long range units, you could replace the Queen with an Optimus Prime. But for me, I still like the Queen. And one more troop in consider using, the best healer in the entire game, Poco. Now, Poco, for me, is a must-use no matter what. But if you guys don't like a Poco, you could replace him with maybe using the Trader instead or an Optimus Prime. But I think Poco is the best healer in the game. And also he's a common, so you just get him a lot more often. You can out-heal people attacking you because he's a damage healer. The way Poco heals you is by him being an aggressive unit. It's not standing around waiting to get healed, meaning the more aggressive you are, the quicker his ability charges up, the quicker you get that big boost of healing. He's so good, and I love him on all my accounts. Anyways, the first troop in must use is going to be the Ice Wizard, aka the Ultimate Barbarian Obliterator. If you're having troubles with people using an Ultimate Barbarian, the best counters are splash damage, Dynamite, B, and an Ice Wizard is the best. That Ice Fan ability can completely save your butt from a guy 10 times stronger than you because the spikes just go through all their units. It's a must use, and you know what's even better actually? The Super Freeze spell. Well, it's not better, but it is really, really good, the Super Freeze spell in Showdown as well. But yeah, next up we have the Miner. I finally decided to put Miner in the top S tier category because it's one of the best units now. Okay, I know at Ultra Form he's completely busted, and if you don't have the Miner at Ultra Form, you might think he's not good, but you're wrong. I use him so much on my free-to-play account, and he's literally what allows me to get more kills because people run away, I stun them, and even though my stun is a lot less better than my main account, it's still good enough. So definitely up here. We also have Max. Finally decided to move him up in must use as well. Very good unit. That extra turbo in the final minute is really good to chase people down and take them out. There's no other epic you should be using instead of Max. Make sure you have him in your rotation. Same thing with the Hog Rider as well. You don't need a chicken unless you're doing it for doppelgangers. Hog Rider can completely replace everything. And you know what's funny actually? I've noticed a lot less people now are going for blue boxes now that you can choose a Hog Rider in your rotation because, well, you just need to go for a hog, dude. It's too important. If you're not picking a hog, delete the game. Same with the next two troops. Colonel Ruffs, I mean, look. Just pick him. I don't need to say anything, do I? You get insta-fused units. Very, very good. In fact, in my last tier list, I rated him as the best unit in the game. But for this tier list, that spot is going to the Barbarian King again. Yep, I decided that Barb King is actually better than Ruffs. I will find myself a lot of the time picking a Barb King instead of a free fusion with my Ruffs just because of that Super Rage spell. So this tier list is kind of based off Ultra units mainly, definitely not Ultimates. But since I've gotten Barb King on my free-to-play account, my win rate has gone from about maybe getting 60% of my games in first place to now about 80 to 90% of my games in first place. And I have not lost a game in a long, long time. The Barb King Super Rage is a must have. Anyone who's gotten it for their free Ultra on the 25th of December will know just how OP it is. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to put Leon in this tier list, but the bottom of decent choice. I mean, the invisibility spell makes it so you can run faster, so you can't be damaged, but Max is better, Ruffs is better, Barb King is better, Queen is better, Battle Healer is better. I wouldn't pick him. Anyways, what do you guys think of this tier list here below? Very different to my last tier list, although the game has changed very much so since the last update. Make sure to use code Claz in the Squad Busters shop if you ever do decide to buy anything, and check out my last video on screen right here where I won duos all by myself. So literally, I was the only guy on my team. My teammate, I made him log off so I could win the game by myself.